Welcome back, everybody. All new this morning, 2 federal appeals court rulings are in regarding a key component of the Affordable Care Act. The U.S. court in D.C. says individuals can't use government subsidies to buy health insurance on federal health care exchanges in states that don't offer them. But in a separate ruling in Virginia, they ruled in favor. The subsidies act as a tax credit that will in part reimburse Americans purchasing health care under the ACA. Now the credits will continue while a final ruling is issued. And this morning we have Jose Medrano, who is with Enroll America, who is here to talk about this big ruling. Thanks so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having us, Victoria.
Now when we talk about subsidies, what exactly are these subsidies? And I understand that there's so many different states that actually, allow for these subsidies or don't go through they actually go through the federal health care mandate as opposed to their own state, and so that's what sort of puts this little loophole in place.
Correct, and like you're saying, you're absolutely right. So yesterday there were a couple of rulings, and like you said, complete opposite. The first one was the Hallberg versus Burwell ruling, and that said that that challenged the tax credits that states who are considered federally facilitated marketplace states. In other words, they go through the federal marketplace, healthcare.gov, and they don't have a state marketplace set up. And so there were some challenges against that. But as you mentioned, there was another completely opposite ruling, and that was in Richmond, Virginia court as well. And so right now it's important, the most important thing is that we let Texans, the Texan consumer know that this ruling does not impact the credits that they're currently receiving, because it is just that. It's a ruling and it has to go through its entire process.
And tell me about this credit. What's the average credit that a person is going to receive, and where are they going to be seeing the savings?
Okay, so the credit is based on income. Depending upon what the income is of the family or the individual who is enrolling in the process. And so it will be different for every case. Every case is different, and that's why we're always encouraging and educating the community to go speak to one of the enrollment assisters or the navigators or the counselors that will help guide them through specifically their situation. But there are subsidies that are still available, and so that's important that the consumer know.
And that's essentially money that's going to come back to you on your tax return at tax return time.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the people that are eligible right now, because enrollment actually stopped in April. It was extended, it's now ended, and it won't be open again until when, and who can enroll in this time?
Good question. Well, actually, it stopped, the official enrollment stopped March 31st. There was a grace period for about a couple of weeks, and so folks who had originally started the process were given a kind of a grace period to get in. Right now we are in what we call the special enrollment period, and what that means is that if someone has had a life-changing experience, for example, they got married, they got divorced, they got a job, or they lost a job, certain things that changed their financial situation where they may become eligible. And of course, general enrollment opens November 15th through February 15th of next year. So we're really looking forward to that, and that's what we're doing right now, is we're responding to the rulings that were made. We're reassuring the community that if they got into the process and they are receiving tax credits, that they will not be affected at this time, reminding folks about special enrollment and getting them ready for the general enrollment on November 15th.
Okay, and one thing I think that people are really looking to is those people that are enrolled now in Medicare and CHIP, sort of from the indirect effects from ACA. How did that work out? Because I understand there's about a 2% increase of people that now have CHIP or Medicare.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's a very good point. You know, there were over 735,000 Texans that enrolled in the process and got health care through the Affordable Care Act. And just through that streamlined process, a lot of folks of limited resources who did not or may not have realized that they were eligible, say, for CHIPs or Medicaid, there was an additional 80,000 plus that were deemed qualified and eligible for Medicaid and CHIPs. So although the state of Texas did not expand Medicaid, we have seen numbers increase dramatically around those that are eligible for Medicaid and CHIPs in the state of Texas.
Great. Okay, well, we're going to keep you around because this is all very interesting information. And in our next hour, we're going to go back to the subsidies, and we're going to discuss how, maybe a future ruling could actually affect all of this in just a little bit. But first, let's go ahead and head back over to Mary.